Because Progressive Field is the home tonight of Game 2 between the Guardians and the Astros. We do not have the lineups yet. It may be Bo Naylor at catcher. It may be Austin Hedges at catcher. This season, the Guardians are 8-0 in games in which Austin Hedges starts. And Anthony wanted to talk about today whether or not it's time for the Guardians to make a change at catcher. His favorite player is Austin Hedges, maybe because he looks very similar to one Austin Hedges, and the fact that Austin Hedges, so far this season, statistically speaking, is having a better year than Bo Naylor, who's hitting just 153. So, Ant, I'm assuming because you asked this question in the rundown, your answer better be yes, it's time to make a change at the position.
It was time at the end of last year. I've been out on Bo for like 2 years now, and at this point it's become a bit between Earl and I. Anytime Saturday morning they talk about it on his show over on The Fan, I'm texting him like, no positive Bo propaganda. And I just want to go on record. Hedges is not my favorite player. It was the guy who's looking at 65 years, but we don't mention his name. Hedges is my second favorite player. So he is the favorite now.
On the team, Ant. Hedges is now your favorite Guardian.
Yes, he is my favorite Guardian. It's time. I think it's time to make Hedges the permanent catcher. He's 8-0, like you said, you started. He knows how to run the pitching staff better, and the pitching staff has been struggling. I think giving them any advantage that they can get, it's time.
Jason, what say you?
No. Come on.
You don't have to shut down Anthony that hard.
I mean,
no, it's fine.
Let him down easy.
No, 8-0 is great. And it may come to the point where they need to move off of Bo, but April 21st, I don't think is the time. And if you, like, his numbers have not been good, obviously. And we've been waiting for Naylor to sort of reach his offensive potential. And when you sort of dig underneath the numbers, he's been one of the unluckiest hitters in the league. Now, this is going to sound a lot like Nolan Jones last year.
Didn't you tell me that about Nolan Jones last year?
And there are guys like that. But usually, not always, there's always exceptions. Usually, when guys are unlucky, eventually it swings, and eventually there's regression to the mean in a good way. And when you look at some of those underlying stats, his walk rate's really good. Like, he continues to cut down, his strikeout rate. He continues to cut down his strikeouts. He's now around like 21%, which is pretty good in baseball. His walk rate actually needs to get a tick higher, I think, but it's been trending in the right direction. His expected OPS is like second. The disparity between his OPS and expected OPS is like the second widest in the league. So he's hitting the ball hard when he's getting into good counts. He's hitting the ball hard. He's just not having the results to show for it. So I think you don't pull the plug on this on April 21st. You have to give this at least another month or so and see. I do think with David Fry's presence, with Hedges does seem to be playing better offensively. There's no question about that. And he is extremely valuable to this pitching staff. I'm not disputing that at all. But I don't think on April 21st is the time to pull the plug on this and throw your hands up and say you're done with Bo Naylor.
Yeah, he just, the other day ago, he has been hitting the ball. He has had a lot of loud outs. Hit a nice home run the other day. He smoked it.
Bo?
Yeah. And so, but to me, I think you bring up the bigger point. David, if there's minutes to be had, it means David Fry will be getting some minutes behind the plate over Bo Naylor, and then Hedges will keep the same role. I think they just like Hedges' role where it's at. Now, it is an upside. Now, if he can want to go ahead and continue to hit this way, I'm sure that there'll be some more times where he's going to get the starts because he has hit the ball pretty well, given the fact that, usually the batting average look to be switched. Usually you expect Austin Hedges to be in 1-something, but he's been hitting the ball pretty well. Now, I will say I think David Fry will get more appearances behind the plate, but Bo Naylor is an upside move. They've already invested all of this time, energy, and effort to him, and you know how it is. When baseball, if they've been giving you and invested those bats in those starts, they're going to give you every full opportunity to either make sure that you either make the club or when they get rid of you, they know well off what it's going to be.
Also, Hedges is 33,
yeah,
and he hasn't been an everyday player for a number of years now. There's a fatigue factor to this, especially at that position. You don't just throw him into that spot and expect to have the same type of – and it's not like he's blowing the doors off offensively. He's just not absolutely horrendous now like he was.
I like how in the Hedges montage, he hasn't played enough, granted, but they have a picture of him pitching, which shows how few pictures that USA Today has taken. I understand. Do you guys like spicy foods?
Yes.
You a spicy food guy? You'll get this more. I'm a spicy food guy. And I like really, really, really hot sauce sometimes. And Austin Hedges is like that really, really, really hot ghost pepper hot sauce where you sprinkle in every once in a while, perfect compliment to the dish. You start putting that hot sauce on 3 meals a day, and next thing you're going to hate the hot sauce.
Yeah.
I think Austin Hedges in doses is terrific. I think Austin Hedges as your everyday starting catcher could lead you to rip out your hair and start going bald. I think what Hedges does for this pitching staff is nothing short of spectacular. The numbers on all the starters in games where Austin Hedges catches drop. He has been incredible handling the staff from a veteran leadership standpoint, from a pitch calling standpoint, from a control, understanding what the game needs standpoint. He has been impeccable this season. But Bo Naylor, in a month, if he's still hitting 143 or 153, if he's hitting 40 pounds below his body weight, then it's time to give him the boot. But it is April. It is still less than a third of the way into the season, not even a quarter of the way into the season yet. And I think he needs a little more time just to see if he can somehow rebound and find this with the Guardians we're so high on him as a prospect for. Remember when Bo Naylor came up? UCSS was just getting started when Bo Naylor was their number one prospect.
Yep.
He had a home run in the second or third game.
Yep.
I was at Brewdog watching the game when it happened. I remember where I was. And it was like, oh my God, the Guardians have an offensive catcher who can provide some pop from behind the plate. Well, that hasn't panned out yet. That hasn't been the reality of the situation. But there was that potential. There was that offensive firepower. And maybe, just maybe, a guy like Bo Naylor, who's had some ups and downs, and Jay was really high on him because he changed his batting stance, has to go back to the batting stance he finished last season with just to get out of the mental funk he's currently
No,
in.
I disagree with that. No, stay with – I know you don't have the results that you want, but a lot of the underlying metrics are good. A lot of
So
the
you're saying
underlying
trust the process?
Yeah.
Okay.
Trust the process. Stay with what you're doing, and we'll see. Listen, the numbers have not been great. Nobody's trying to paint that they are. But I just think right now he still remains their best option back
Yeah,
on an everyday basis.
How much mental is it with Bo, though?
A lot.
Okay.
I think a lot of it. And plus, like, there's so much responsibility on catchers more than any other position because you're trying to command the entire pitching staff. And the one thing that the Guardians sort of preach is, like, they can't develop guys and then give up on them too soon. And that's why you see some of these guys exhaust where you get tired. I'm sick of seeing the Rocchio and the Arias thing. Like, I'm tired of it.
Rocchio's balling out. He's proven right now that you might be wrong.
Well, okay.
For a little bit.
We'll see. But there's, for the most part, like, they don't want to cut bait on guys too soon. Gio Urshela was a guy that they had who was phenomenal defensively and just couldn't figure out on the offensive end and wound up having a pretty decent career, a pretty productive career. And those are the type of moves that they feel are crippling to them. If they're going to invest all this time and resources into these guys, they can't develop them for other teams. They have to get the most reward out of them, which is why they're going to give them opportunity after opportunity after opportunity.
Yeah, sometimes it's crazy when the mental factor, like, you know, you go back and you listen, and with baseball is when you're – nothing is better when you have to play in baseball and you're just seeing the ball well. And you don't go up there, you're not thinking. You don't go up there and you're not guessing. You just go up there and see the pitch and you drive it somewhere. And the crazy part about it is you always are looking for that perfect mental space where you're at, where you're asking yourself, what was I doing when I was hitting the ball well?
Yep.
And, you know, you could have a psychologist or whatever the case may be, but when you're not seeing the ball well, they could probably put it on a tee for you, and you probably feel like the baseball looks about this big.
Yeah.
Everybody is blowing it past you. You can't get it. And even when you get some contact, it's a rolled over dribbler or a pop fly, and you're just lost. So there's a lot to be said for figuring it out, and you have to have enough bats to fail and succeed.
I heard Frankie Lindor on a podcast last week talking about going through slumps as a baseball player, and Lindor is not superstitious. He was asked about it, and he said, quote, or paraphrasing, he goes, I put in way too much hard work to think a superstition is going to make me get a hit today or not. And he goes, when I get in these slumps, I go back and I watch old highlights of myself from 2017, 2018, 2020, and kind of remind myself, hey, I can do this. It's all mental. Frankie Lindor has those seasons in his back pocket and that cachet to be able to go back and look. A guy like Bo Naylor, who's still young, and everyone's different. I understand it's not apples to apples, but Bo Naylor doesn't have 3 seasons of highlight tapes that he can go cut up and look at. Holy crap, I was awesome for this stretch. To go back and reference to kind of get him back in the mental state to where I think he frankly needs to get to become the productive offensive player the Guardians need him to become.
It's kind of funny. It's almost like being like, I believe there are great hitters out here that never hit. Like, if that makes sense. there are great hitters where they just didn't have success in the amount of times that they were given the opportunity. And either the team cut bait or somebody else came up and hit well during that period, and they never get to show it. It's like there's some shooters that are really good shooters, but they just didn't knock down shots
if they miss 2 or 3 in a row, they're scared to shoot the fourth. And you need to have that blank conscious, the ability to, I don't care what happened on the last shot, this next one going in. It is an innate, it's a weird, I think cornerbacks have to be the same way.
Yeah.
It is one-on-one with an island. If I get burnt once, I don't care. I'm getting right back out there. I'm lining up face-to-face again. I'm going to press you off the line. You ain't beating me a second time.
I think I talked about on the show before. I remember when Deion was here, when Deion Waiters was here, and he had nights of like 2 of 11, 2 of 12. And I was like, after you miss the 8th or 9th one, don't you like hesitate about pulling it up? And you would have thought that I insulted his family. He was like, the next one's going in.
Yeah.
Like, you just have to have that irrational confidence that it don't matter how many in a row I've missed, the next one's going in.
And in basketball, you can see it on the reverse. And I'll use Dean Wade for an example. But Dean Wade airballed his first shot in game 1, and I looked at Earl and said, he's not shooting again the rest of the season. So he passed up 3 straight open threes, ended up hitting one later in that game, hit one last night in game 2. But not everyone, despite the fact that they've reached this level of athletic excellence, they've reached the pinnacle, have that innate confidence in themselves to be able to overcome those early failures. And we'll find out with Bo Naylor as his season and his career progresses. Real quick to wrap this up, do you think Bo Naylor snaps out of this slump and turns into a productive offensive player?
I mean, there's degrees to that. I think he will be the starting catcher all year long. I don't think he's going to be a 265, 270 hitter with 20 home runs. But if you get to 245, 250 with 15 home runs, 17 home runs, I think you take it.
I think there's very few people on this team that have a level where they go, I can overassume that they're going to make these jumps. I think he is pretty much who he is. I think you're just trying to maximize the power numbers. Even if he's going to not hit well, I can at least get Bo Naylor. If Bo Naylor wants to give me 17, 18 home runs,
I'll take it.
I'll take it with 215 batting average. I'll take it because those are the hits that put you in a position where you can put some runs on the board.